Hey, 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 hey. It's not Jason Freeman. So, well, I guess we got to fix this, don't we? Oh, there we go. All right. So, today's guest is your well known and beloved Jason Freeman. I'm taking on interview duties with him, and we're going to discuss the nitty gritty details of perseverance. But first, let me give a little intro here to Jason. Um, Whenever Jason Freeman speaks to an audience, be it an intimate mastermind in North County, San Diego, or an assembly of 1,500 high school students in Austin, Minnesota, he is absolutely 100% committed to bringing a speech impediment with him. Audiences see him up on stage against all odds, living his dream, which helps them see their dreams as closer and more attainable. Jason has a unique walk, a love for country music, a sweet tooth, a master of fine arts and poetry, a TEDx talk, and a book he authored called Awkwardly Awesome, Embracing My Imperfect Best. His goal is to speak to millions of people in his lifetime. He hopes to inspire them to see the best in themselves, take their next step forward, and persevere towards their dreams, not only for themselves, but for the health and happiness of generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming your guest today, Jason W. Freeman. There he is.
Hi.
Hi. So you look a little comfy today.
Yeah, I'm comfy. This is the life, my legs up. And it's because I was walking down my hill like a week or so ago, and I started slipping and put all my weight on one part of the inside of my left ankle and had a snap and found out that that's not the best idea.
Yeah. Well, talk about trying. We had the topic for this determined a while back as we wanted to talk about perseverance, but this really put that into action for you.
Yeah. It's as a speaker and a writer. I don't feel grateful. It's tough having an injury like this, but at the same time, it's always nice when I can actually experience the stuff I talk about in my own life, the stuff I talk about in my personal life on a deeper level. So then I know more about it and have more to share.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's true of all of us. It gets pretty easy sometimes to get caught up in feeling a certain way or beliefs. But we do need to have those reminders from time to time. We need to have those beliefs tested, and we need to have, experiential proof of what we are saying is still true to who we are. So it's a great way to look at it. I know you'd rather be out there going on your walks and exploring small towns and taking pictures and whatnot, but hopefully you found something in this that gives you a chance to explore other things and have other adventures that maybe you had been neglecting because of other abilities.
In a way, it's very much like having a speech impediment. I could have spent my whole life on, it would have been so good if I didn't have the speech impediment and just been miserable every day of my life. But if I chose that course, I would still have the speech impediment. And same with this, I could be like, oh, why did I make the mistake, or it's so unfair that I slipped on the hill and broke, or blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, what is my ankle right now is fractured, so might as well help it heal and make the best of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you found so far, like, is there anything that having a broken ankle that has to be elevated, is there anything that this has allowed you to do that you might not have otherwise done or noticed?
Well, one day, like 4 or 5 days ago, I was sitting here working, and then a deer came up to the window and was peering in, and that was pretty fun. The deer was responding to my stillness, I guess.
It's checking in on you. Well, for those of you just joining us, today's topic is going to be on really Jason Freeman's life, because his life embodies perseverance, and we want to get into some of the nitty gritty details and learn about some of the stuff that he went through. Some of it, if you're familiar with Jason, you may know, but hopefully some of it will be new to you. Um, I work closely with Jason. We co-create a lot of the visual content together, like these graphics and whatnot on here. As such, as me being much more of a visually oriented person, I put together a number of pictures that Jason doesn't know what they are, and I will pop them up periodically throughout, and if I feel like they fit in with what he's talking about. And Bill Radford says hello here. Jason, you can see that, right? So anyway, so I'll pop them in periodically, um, and we'll ask Jason too what he remembers about them, just to add a little more depth to everything. And also, yesterday we put a question out there to everybody, to ask about knowing what you know about Jason. You know, the adversity Jason has faced. Is there a topic or a question that you have? So we collected a few questions, and as we go through it, I'll pop that in as well. And of course, anyone following live here can pop in just like that, and ask questions of your own if you'd like them answered live. We'll try and get to everything. But on that note, Jason, I'll let you take it away. Where do you remember where you were in your life the first time you faced adversity?
First of all, on the graphics, Chris is very generous. What happens is I give Chris a very vague, exceedingly vague idea of what I want, and then he turns that mishmash into brilliance, and always goes above it and beyond. Beyond anything I could think of. So, thank you, Chris.
Well,
Where was I the first time I experienced adversity, and do I remember it? Actually, I mean, I know it happened, but I don't remember it. The first time I experienced adversity in this life was before I was even born. My umbilical cord became kinked, but not in a kinky way, in a from a life-threatening way, and I lost some oxygen, but luckily not too much. And so that was my earliest taste of adversity.
and of course that resulted in this unique accent, and some coordination differences that you were really quite unaware of when you were a child, correct?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think like a lot of kids. Oh, great picture. Like lot of kiddos. Hi Tiffany. Like lots of kiddos, I was just busy being me, and little kids accept so much, like they must at a certain point be like, I'm crawling and I see other people walking, so I'm going to learn to walk. Or I'm not talking other people are, so I'm going to learn to talk. And so I just accepted that I was born to two amazing parents, and I was just happy being that kiddo, and being so full of joy.
Great. That's fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, and then it's a very unique Midwestern accent there. Very unique one. One
So,
of the kind Midwestern accent.
while we're in this era of you being a kid here, I've got a couple pictures. I just figured I'd pop them up, and I want to just see if what you remember about them, and you know, what parts of this it might bring up. So here is the first one.
Wow. So this is at a great school that helped me so much back in the day. It didn't have a great name, at least as we think of it now. It was called Crippled Children's Hospital in school. Yes, I went to a school where the first word in his name was crippled. But luckily it was staffed by brilliant people, including my physical therapist Jane, my OT Bob, and my speech therapist Sheila Stewart, and I still keep in contact with Sheila Stewart. Actually, it was her birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Sheila.
That's great. You know what I love about this image, amongst other ones? I've seen so many of them from from your youth, or from your yeah, I guess that's the proper term. I'm a pro at this, apparently. But no, I love how this picture just seems to capture your confidence. And I think this is the same confidence that I've seen carry you through so much in your life. This
Mm,
seems to be perhaps prior
mm,
to you having self-doubt. Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe not, but there is just something in that confidence that I still see in you today, at times when you're standing tall.
mm, mm. My father refers to maybe the kind of confidence you're talking about as a quiet confidence, and quiet confidence is I would say is being comfortable in your own skin, and knowing that you have something to contribute. Not having to monopolize everything, and being able to listen. And there's been many times in my life I have definitely not been quietly confident. There's been many times that I've been very noisily inconfident, if inconfidence the word.
Yeah, I believe it is.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay, not at least it is now.
Yeah.
But life feels much better when I'm quietly confident.
Very nice. So this would not be an example of quiet confidence. This is more outright confidence.
Is that me?
It's you jumping off a rock into the ocean.
Actually, that's not as warm as the ocean. Definitely not the ocean in Hawaii. Or San Diego even. That's Lake Superior.
Oh, that's
That's
a
north
choppy
of
lake.
that huge lake north of north of Duluth, and even though it's probably August, that water is cold.
Mm.
And
So
I'm looking at that and wondering how the heck I swam back to shore. Gosh, yeah,
not
wow.
to mention how you didn't freeze then. So I imagine since this is a lake, the gentleman isn't pointing to a shark that you missed before jumping in,
Luckily not.
right? It's great. That leads me back, as we were talking about your dad a second ago, and there's this great one, and then we'll move on to some questions and get this thing back on track.
Tim's on love. We just say, oh, this is a great picture, and I guess part of the my one of my good friends Tim and I, we have the thing where we'll go love, and and that's part of quiet quiet confidence is creating actively creating that within ourselves, and sometimes it's just a simple trick like saying love. Don't you feel more confident? But flash that picture up again. It's
All
great.
right. So it looks like you might have tried to headbutt something there, huh?
Oh, this might have been when I decided to jump headfirst off a jungle gym.
Oh, well,
And it was very traumatic because we had to go to the emergency room because I must have been bleeding profusely. And back in the day, they wouldn't let my mom into the come in with me while I got stitched up, and so I was really freaking out.
oh, I bet that'd be pretty traumatic. Seems like you
But
forgot about it by this time, though.
yeah, that shows the resilience of kids. Just I'm like, huh? Yeah, I must have forgot about it.
Love that one. All right. Let's see here. We put some questions out yesterday. Um, Let me see real quick. This I think is a good one at this point, and this might help bring us into the next phase here. But being born, losing oxygen at birth, starting life out, facing adversity. Um, you mentioned that the name of the school was the Crippled Children's School. We know these terms are very heavy. The terms disabled, the terms crippled, these are, more and more of these being phased out because they're not an accurate description of what you go through. But it is still, something that you've had to face and contend with. So one of the questions we got that I thought was really good was how did you used to use your disability to avoid growth?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, just very simply by when I was asked to do something I felt to be on my comfort zone, just saying I can and kind kind of smiling and being like, I can't. And I thought that get out of growth free card was a really great thing for a long time. And I think a lot of us probably have various get out of growth free cards. But what I found eventually was I was cutting myself short. I don't think that's the way you say it, but I wasn't giving myself the opportunity to expand, to explore life more. I was by saying I can't, no, I can't. I was constructing a comfort zone that became pretty narrow and pretty contained, and eventually became pretty claustrophobic.
Right. I remember there was a whole period of your life, right, where you were trying to hide your speech impediment, right? You
Yeah,
wanted the world to think you didn't have one.
yeah. I wanted to pass in the world as normal because I thought by being normal I would be, it was my best chance to be loved and to be successful and such. And
So,
yeah.
what effects did doing that end up having on you, though? Like, at what point did you figure out this wasn't something that you could hide, you know, successfully or at least long term? At what point did you realize that you had to kind of do something about this and face this and bring it out into the world?
Eventually I wanted to be known and loved for who I authentically was, instead of known and loved for the shallow Jason, the shallow kind of goofy Jason image I was trying to portray.
So was that it, you were kind of trying to be goofier and more fun loving, more the guy in the background than did I understand that correctly, or
Yeah, I guess goof. eh, I'm still goofy sometimes. It's hard to, pinpoint it. It was more I was trying to present a perfect image of myself, and not perfect in a way that will each perfect because there's one and only one of us throughout time, but perfect in the sense that I didn't have a speech impairment, that I didn't ever make mistakes, that I was never insecure, that I was always on top of my game, and that was false. That was false to my true experience, and guess what? It isolated me more from other people, because I mean, if anyone's being honest with themselves, they're not living an absolutely 100% perfect life. So So I was trying to portray something that no one else was really feeling.
Right. And I have a feeling that that's something that many of us do in our life. We bottle these things up inside, um, quite effectively sometimes until we can't contain them anymore, and they
Mm,
spill out in different ways and whatnot. And
mm,
obviously, all of us here are so thankful that you found a way to not only stop hiding your speech impediment, but to use it to propel you into the most unlikely of careers, really, um,
mm.
at some point in time. Do you remember what age you were when this was going on? Or rather, we talked about, kind of the carefree resilience of childhood for you, and how you had great parents that always told you, that you were nothing short of the best, and they encouraged you, and they did all this fun stuff for you, and they allowed you to just be you, kind of like this picture shows here.
That's awesome.
you know I think you told me at one point in time that all those pictures on the wall, that's all your artwork, right?
Yeah, and we had at the time an 80-foot mobile home, and then I'm skiing down the long hallway in a mobile home.
That's so great. So that's just sheer imagination right there, and an environment that supported that. um, yeah, I love that. I love that image. So how do you go from that to, like, at what point do you go from that to your first real understanding that, oh, something's different here?
So so circumstances come up in all of our lives that really challenge us, and one of my circumstances was so I went to crippled children's, then I was mainstreamed into this this wonderful private school called All Saints. But in third grade, and this is nothing anyone could control, especially a kid in third grade. My my wonderful school was beginning to go very bankrupt, or to be not financially doable for the church. The church was tired of whatever. Anyway, it was clear that within a year or two the school would close. And so I was sent from the school, or I chose to go from the school in Sioux Falls, which was probably 80 or 90,000 at a time, to a school in a small town with a population of like 400 or 500, and it just, I mean, both my the school I was at and the new school are great schools, but it was a culture shock, and just a shock to the system for me, and one of the ways I coped with that shock was by becoming more critical of myself, and I picked out likely suspects, and I think we all have things we're critical of, but I picked out my voice and my coordination then to be critical of, and that started overshadowing the joy the joy I had earlier in life at just being me and just living and drawing life in through me, and through me.
Right. Now, did you have anyone else reinforcing these beliefs? Did you have any bullies in school?
I had one bully. I'm laughing because you know that story, but I had one bully who was after me day in and day out. He was so mean. He was so mean. Any more questions about that bully?
Yeah. So the bully was you, obviously. We got a question because people familiar with this are, that you were your worst bully, um, who beat up nonstop. But the question, as everyone can see here, is: does the bully still show up? I'll deal with that part first. So, does the bully still show up, Jason?
Yep.
All right. So, what's your strategy when he shows up now? Because, as the question states, you're probably pretty familiar with him by now. But does he ever surprise you?
Um, I mean, oftentimes I can just notice like it's pretty simple to notice. Like I'll be feeling good, feeling good, and then something and some self talk will start making some self talk will come in that says something that if I latch onto that self talk, I could go down a rabbit hole. So I try to become aware of when the self talk the self talk earlier and earlier on. So I can observe it and thank it for being there and then decide, is there any wisdom in this? And if there is, I take that. But if there's not, I try just to notice it and thank it for being there, and then go on with my day, which is sometimes easier said than done.
Yeah. So that's kind of similar to some of the content we actually put out this week, which it's an interesting perspective, which is this idea of kind of empowering yourself from negative thoughts, potentially, finding the wisdom in something negative and examining it to see if is what this self-doubt is right now, is there truth in it? And if so, let's explore that truth a little bit, if it's there, and see what we can take away and use to propel ourselves forward. Or, you know, if there's nothing there, what can you do but leave it there? It's going to be there until it goes away. It seems like more than anything, these things of self doubt. I'm someone who deals with self doubt all the time. They're going to exist. They're going to be there, and pretty much they always just need attention.
I used to give that self doubt attention by trying to bully the bully, trying to beat it into to submission, but self doubt's just like self doubt's a very wily opponent, and the more I try to beat it up, the more it's like,
It's
dude,
there.
I'm not going anywhere. You're just making me stronger here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Some of this topic kind of crosses over on this question I'm about to show, so I may as well bring it up to see if there's any expansion in here. But is there something specific you do when you're about to hit a wall to help yourself get back up more quickly? And as a second part of that question, are there any patterns that you've noticed?
When I hit a wall,
I mean, part of it kind of comes into what we were just talking about there with, examining the voices in your head, the things that tell you you're no good. But there's, there's more walls than just mental, right? Sometimes there could be financial walls. There could be, there could be physical walls, physical hurdles.
Mm-hmm. But I think part of it is so the self bully is very immediate, just saying thing after thing that wants to be dealt with way now, and sometimes I can get sort of ahead of the bully by drawing a map in my head, like thinking. So the bully started to talk to me about my foot injury. Why did you do that? Why did you slip? Why did you go down the hill? Shut down the hill anyway. There wasn't really anything down there, which there really wasn't. And when the bully started doing that, like the night after I had first been to the ER, I was like, if I follow that line of thinking, if I keep going with it, where is it going to take me? Is it going to take me where I want to go? And then I was like, well, no, probably not at all. So then I rerouted as the GPS used to say recalculating. So I sort of went in another direction, kind of around the wall instead of directly into the wall I could have gone into. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think it makes perfect sense. You found you found what works. Um, in order to the wall's going to exist. You can't make the wall disappear, but you can find a path around it. You can find other ways to move beyond it, so it doesn't have to be directly in front of you.
Well, onto something here. Just because a wall exists doesn't mean we have to run headfirst into the wall.
Yeah, exactly. Just like this kid.
yeah.
So,
It's a great mustache my dad has.
yeah. So in this picture, I had to put this up because I had to know why you were wearing a button of yourself. But I'm realizing there's the happy version, and it seems like perhaps the less happy version. So this is probably symbolic of the conflict that goes on inside. When you're dealing with that bully, you're dealing with self doubt, right?
That's brilliant, my friend. Oh my gosh. So first of all, I think I got a button at a birthday party. Like someone came to my birthday party and made a button of my face, and I bet it felt very special at the moment, but I got the button. But as you say, that special feeling wore off, and I'm yeah, and when we feel our eyes being downcast, when we feel ourselves looking at the ground, or not really observing what's around us, going into the brain and hanging out with the bully, that's a tell that when we feel we're not seeing as much of our world as we usually do, but going inside, the thing I know now to do is start to look around, like those flowers directly out the window. Those are cool. There's leaves on the trees, which is a miracle. Winter was so long, and even we had snow flurries on Easter, and it seemed like spring would never come. And now there's big leaves on on the oak trees, and just, I mean, that is, maybe this is part of now running headfirst into the wall. If you're looking down and not looking where you're going, but so absorbed in your thoughts, yes, you're probably going to run headfirst into the wall. But if you look up and you take a breath and say, "This is life," and oh, I like this around me, and like that. Oh no, there's a wall there. You can go around it then instead of going headfirst into it.
That is a very interesting concept there. I don't know that I always thought about it, but so often when we're depressed or we're down, we do tend to do that. We do tend to look down. We do tend to feel heavy, to kind of be drawn down. And
Mm,
mentally or anything else, like even if we're going about doing our thing, say I'm driving, I'm more on autopilot than I am paying attention to what's around me. And it's no surprise then, I guess, is if we're in that funk or that state, why it's easy to become so focused on the problem or the doubt and not see literally so many solutions or so
mm,
many other things around you. I mean,
mm,
people miss that all the time
mm,
when they're too honed in and focused. And it's frustrating because from the outside, I think a lot of times people can see that. And
mm,
that's
mhm,
why people get so frustrated when people are kind of stuck in their heads or down and they just want to shake it out of you because it's like they can see so clearly what you can't because you're just not willing to look up and see it, right? But
mm,
yeah,
mm.
interesting concept there. I guess I hadn't really thought about it in that way until you just mentioned it.
And this whole conversation came about because you shared that picture where I was looking down. Thank you.
Um,
I never thought twice about that picture, but you say it's wonderful for illustrating what we're talking about.
Now, you said the one other thing that comes up with that I do want to talk about is you mentioned kind of looking around, seeing the flowers and the spring blooming outside the window, the leaves and whatnot. Now, that's something I get very spoiled of being in California. And I
Yeah.
have noticed that I can go outside at any time of year for the most part. I'm not going to freeze to death. The
Have
fall,
you noticed that? Has
yeah.
that occurred to you?
So there's always going to be something. I'm always able to go outside and appreciate the beauty of nature and whatnot. But it's been very, 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 very long since I've experienced a winter or really any seasons besides fall
Did
and
this
summer.
person have a point, or are you just gloating now?
No, I'm not just gloating, believe it or not. No, it does have a point. I was just wondering is do you have advice? Because like I said, year round, that's that's a solution for me, right? If I'm feeling down or I'm feeling anything,
Mm,
I've learned that I can get outside, get some
mm,
fresh air, see just the amazing beauty that's around me, and it kind of it's hard to continue being mad
mm,
when you realize that.
mm,
So, you being where you are, I imagine winters can be not just hellish in that they're cold, but they can be extremely isolating and make things that much harder. So, how do you get through a tough winter when you can't just go outside and find a quick and simple solution?
so so winter is is really its own thing, and one of the things you miss is color. The outside is the brown of tree bark, I guess the green of evergreens, but other than the brown of tree bark, the brown of dead grass, the white of snow, maybe the black of earth if it's exposed. Just such a limited color palette. In the blue of the sky, but why did I guess I said all that because it's so real and it lasts so long from in the case of last winter from November to April. And so where do I go to? So sometimes sometimes I'll go out in the winter and instead of mourning or lamenting, oh, that's not there, I'll notice what's there. I mean, even though so much is gone, there's still a lot to see. The shapes of stuff, the feeling of the cold air. There's still a lot. Like same with my ankle injury. Even though I'm now walking, which I love to do, there's still a lot I can do. So probably it's tuning into what is there instead of repeatedly hitting the wall of what isn't there, but what my ego wants to be there again and again. And then the other part of it is learn to do more inside, and meditation's good for me because it takes me into the beauty of the flow of the breath, and that's good.
Yeah.
It's a complicated question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's probably not there's definitely not a single answer that's ever going to solve that. It's just it was something that you said when you were talking about, specifically the spring, and it dawned on me. You can call it privilege, you can call it whatever you want, but just that's an avenue, that's an extra added avenue that would be an obstacle, a very physical obstacle, I would imagine, to most people, that creates that extra feeling of isolation and whatnot. To me, and there's a good example of other perspectives. To me, winter is exciting, right? If I see snow, if I see the limited color palette, I don't see the absence of life. I see contrast, and from the artist eye, contrast is so exciting, and it just and since I don't have to deal with it and I don't experience, I love it, and I love the feeling of cold air. But there is a limit to that. I found that out in New York when I went out there in a deep freeze, and a pair of jeans and a jacket that didn't zip up. I didn't realize that wind could be a weapon. Like it could feel like knives. That was quite a rude awakening to how brutal the cold can be sometimes. And it was weird. It was it was weird walking around New York because nobody else was on the streets, and you know how many millions, hundreds of millions of people live there. Just to be feeling like no one was around, and you just felt like you were totally in this different world. And I'm a nut out there just living it up because I don't get to experience it. But just to know everyone else is literally inside wading through it and dealing with their own stuff. And, I don't know. It just, it came up, so I explored it. That's what we do sometimes.
Oh, and I'll say this. living through winter makes spring a very great season. Like seeing leaves, seeing flowers after you haven't seen that for 4 or 5 months is a big deal.
I can understand that a little bit in the sense that, while you're in spring and summer, the rest of the world that experiences all four seasons, when they're in spring and summer, it's a time to celebrate and everything else, a time of beauty. Well, in California, the spring is still a little pretty, but to us, spring symbolizes death, not birth, because everything starts to die, and then we go into just this terribly brown, dull, everything's dried out and dead summer and fire seasons and black skies and all that crap. So for us, we're very much about what the fall and winter is to the rest of the country, because that's when we get to step outside and really see life and green.
It's really interesting the change in how perspective is different.
Absolutely.
Really interesting.
All right. Well, I may have led us into the weeds a little bit with that, but let's cycle this back, I guess, to so you're in middle school, and at what point did you absolutely decide that it was time to do something about this bully inside, this negative self-worth, all this criticism that you put on yourself? What was the factor that put you on the path that would eventually lead you to where you are now?
I guess having was many would call it a dog night of the soul. It's interesting. We were just talking about the seasons, and I learned during my 7th grade year that a person can definitely create winter inside themselves, even if it is spring. I talk about the power of looking down and not seeing anything else. The spring of my 7th grade year, I was just so consumed with thoughts that nuclear war would break out between the United States and Russia. That I was worthless because I couldn't prevent it. That I was worthless because I could hardly do anything. That I was worthless because I had acne as speech impediment, coordination problems, and that let me into the darkness of not listening to other people, of not listening to life, of not drawing goodness into me, but saying, hey, you guys are saying good things about me, but no, it's not true. Hey, life is beautiful over there, but I'm not worthy of that. And I attempted to take my own life, but my heart and soul wasn't into it, so I called for help, and that call that it was like a fork in the road, and that call was the genesis of the path I'm on now.
That's beautiful. Tragically beautiful, I guess you would say. I mean, it's such a shame that it took you getting to that point to have to find that, and so thankfully you were able to correct that. It makes me, I don't know, it just makes me think of all the people that get to that point that discover too late, and don't get the chance.
Mm.
So it's just, so thankful that you were able to have that and find it and find that other path. And that's probably serves that I definitely know talking to you that serves as a reminder. So even though it's such a negative thing, it has had positive implications. It's a positive motivator, really, I guess, if you look back at it now and you see where you've gone.
And we see that in so many people's stories that they'll take something really just God. I want to say God awful, but I don't want to say that. Something just really awful. Like I viewed a man a few weeks ago who was beaten within an inch of his life and left for death, and now he's helping students and helping people be resilient. And if he ever saw the people who beat him, he says he would tell them thank you.
Wow. Now, that's beyond my scope of understanding at this point in time, and I hope I don't
Mm.
ever have to know that perspective myself.
Yeah,
But
yeah, me too, me too.
so what did he say? Why would he tell them thank you? Is it because of what he's had to grow into? I'm sure you probably just said that, but
Yeah. He was on a path of like managing pubs before this, and then after this, it gave him a platform, a message. Just, just like that's the gift, a gift of adversity, and I don't want any more than I than I naturally have. I'm not promoting seeking out adversity, but a gift is that if we use it as a catalyst to growth, it can really take us into new, amazing directions.
yes, yes. So you found this new path for yourself. Um, was that path just all fun and games from there on
Oh, definitely, Chris.
out?
No, I mean just because you find a new path going in the direction you want to go doesn't mean that it's not going to go through deserts, it's not going to go over tall mountains. It doesn't mean any of it. It just means you're going in the direction you want to go, which is huge because two steps in the direction you want to go is takes you farther than 20,000 steps in a direction you don't want to go.
This is a great segue into the entire concept of perfect best, which is something that you discovered sometime around this period in your life, even if you didn't have a name for it just yet,
Mm.
correct?
Yeah.
And so,
And
what for anyone who might not be familiar, what is doing your imperfect best?
the idea, and I have to say this with a disclaimer. I learn more about what this phrase means like each and every day. I know we coined it like 4 or 5 years ago, but it's so deep. But what it means to me as of today is we each have a vision of the best we want in our lives. And yes, that vision might change throughout our lives, but it's a vision, and as we head off towards it, we're all humans, so mistakes, challenges, frustrations will come up. The imperfect part.
Mm-hmm.
So doing your imperfect best means thinking of the vision, and then when when all the stuff comes up, using the mistakes or challenges to inspire you to and teach you and take you forward instead of a reason to stop or a reason to go off into a direction you don't really want to go, but you think you're worthy of since you made a mistake. That's not true. You're worthy of magnificence. Even if you make mistakes, everyone makes mistakes. Doesn't make us any less worthy. The question is, are we going to use the mistakes to propel us forward, or are we going to use them as reasons to stop?
Right. Right. And in fact, I think there's a big problem with the weight we put on words like mistakes and failure and everything else. We think it's something to avoid. We think it's something that, at all costs, we have to get all our ducks in a row. We have to do everything we can so that we avoid any possibility of that. When really we should reframe this entire idea of these words, because really, what is success without failure? What is success without mistakes? Like, these are things that are part of the process. These are things that are part of success. And I think that's something that also winds up being embodied in Imperfect Best, is that you're going to get up, you're going to give it your best. And you truly do need to give it your best. You can't just half-ass it and make your way through. But as you give your all, you're going to encounter these problems, these mistakes, and these challenges, and embrace that as part of the journey. Embrace that you're on the right track, and not it's not time to bail and get out of there. What is success without failure? Thank you, Tim. I appreciate
My job from Chris Taylor.
Was it love?
Yeah, but it's trying it out as long as you possibly can.
All right. Will you show me one more time? Oh, my voice went up. All right. Well, we're in this time. I want to circle back real quick to, again, back to where you were when you found that other path that's open. And one thing that we found is maybe it's partly because of what the time frame of when it happened to you, but your message is so powerfully received by middle school and high school students, college students too, but really people at that transition period, if you will, between the innocence and carefreeness of childhood and the looming expectations of adulthood. And there's a lot they put on themselves. I've got 2 teenagers here and 2 preteens that are right on the verge, and it's not an easy walk. It's not an easy walk as a parent, but it's especially not easy as a teenager. I know I didn't have the easiest time myself, but it seems like there's even extra obstacles these days with just the access to information, and so much of the information is negative. There's so many opportunities for bullies outside of yourself to reinforce the negative things you feel about yourself through social media and through everything else. So with all that in mind, what are you doing to help address, these issues that you face right now? And do you have any advice for anyone, any of the young people that might be watching?
So the good news is there's so much that can be done. Yes, the challenges of being a young person are huge, and it's a very intense time. And yet there's a time full of opportunity, because with huge challenges come great opportunities. Person of any age just needs to be reminded that they can seize them. And I'm actually talking to a group tonight, and I'll talk about some of the things I wish I knew. And one of them always to remember is, like we said before, that being human is a team sport, and to reach out when we're feeling bad. But one of the things that keeps us from reaching out is thinking that we're the only one experiencing the heartache, experiencing the insecurity, thinking we're the only one experiencing stress, thinking we're the only one that's confused. I know I got on that horse when I was in 7th grade, but the thing is, and the thing I definitely didn't realize then, is that all humans go through different versions of the stuff, and yes, maybe they are in a better place now, but it just, and that's good, because they can help you up. But all humans go through this. All humans can speak of challenge in their own accent, I think. I just happen to speak of it in a very unique accent. And so this is one of the things I truly want to get across to young people, that they're not in this alone, that there's a team of people, that they're surrounded by a team of people dealing with stuff.
Mm.
And then I also want to
Before you do,
what?
can you elaborate real quick on what that team is? Just in case they're stuck there right now and they don't know, or they can't find it.
So the team most definitely involves trusted friends and family. If you're not reaching out to people you trust, you might be missing a huge opportunity, because people who are in a good place, they want to help you. They want to support you. They want to be there listening you, and they also want to hear that they're not alone. when you tell them you're struggling, they can like breathe a sigh of relief. I'm not the only one struggling. Jason also struggle. So that's one. But also in this case, Google can be a friend. So don't Google the social media sites, but Google like suicide helplines, or various places to get counseling. A big part of the hurt you're feeling in the lack of perspective you're experiencing is because it could be because you're not letting new stuff in and talking to either a trusted person you know or a trusted professional allows them to start asking you questions instead to not only discuss their challenges but also to highlight the strengths in you that you might have completely forgotten in your funk. And when we're in a funk, it's so easy to forget our strengths.
Yeah.
So easy.
Yeah. I'd like to add to that list if I could, and this is something I don't know that I was ever aware of in school, because this person's office is often in the front office, and as a kid in school, the front office was the last place I ever wanted to be, even though I wound up there quite a bit.
Right.
But most schools are equipped with a counselor, and counselors are there for more than just helping you determine what you want to do with your future, where you want to go. They're there specifically for this reason. So if you don't feel like you can go to a friend and you don't feel like you can go to a teacher, you can always go to the counselor's office, and they are trained. They understand this. They are used to this, and normally they got into the profession because they've been through something themselves. And I only know how powerful that can be because we had, we have a blended family here, and we had two of our daughters lost their dad at the end of last year, and it's a tough thing to navigate. There's a lot of heaviness and a lot of mourning and everything else. But I know that the counselor's offices in both cases, the school counselors in both cases, were huge helps, and thankfully they knew to go there. And
And that's such a good point. And talk about a win-win, because when you reach out to a counselor, you're allowing them to do the job, do what they're good at, what they're passionate about. So, and it's such a win for you and as a person reaching out.
Yeah, I mean, it's an important thing, I think, to know, for the youth to know.
And then also like we said, when we get down, we start focusing on everything that's going wrong, everything that's wrong with us, and we start making long laundry lists of all our deficits. But yeah, yes, that might be part of the story, but we're also people who have talents and strength and things we've developed and things we have yet to develop. So it's good to either stop making a list of positives you're seeing yourself like like telling yourself, I know I feel down now and I'm seeing all the negative, but what are the positives? Or else asking people you trust around you to remind you of who you really are. Because when we're down, we only see just a fraction of who we are, and we see almost none of what our lives can become. We have a very limited view. Like when I was down, I definitely did not see having this conversation with you right now. And then the last thing I'll say on this is to know that you are the best. You are the only one of who's exactly you, who's existed throughout time. There's never been anyone. I love that. Exactly like you before, and there will never be anyone exactly like you after. And you have purpose on this earth, and you have so much to do, and some of it you will, some of the things you do, and you'll see the effects, like how you help the person, but oftentimes you'll make efforts and they'll ripple beyond what you can see. You may even never know how they ripple beyond.
Absolutely. And like you said too, you said something really important there, because I think sometimes people think when they're in that low spot that they're not worthy, or they don't want to be selfish. They don't want to make it about them, and so they have a hard time going to other people. But there is something that happens, like you said, when you go to somebody else, you now give them permission to express themselves as well, and it's in those actions that there are ripple effects, and it's like every action you have has one of those. Again, referring kind of back to some of the content this week, you know ironically, and there are both positive
Oh
and
yeah.
negative ones, and so
We're,
hopefully.
we're creating so much content at once. I had to think, but yeah.
But yeah, that's such a good point. Well, that's great. I know we've gone a little long. I don't know how long your longest one of these has been yet, but we're probably approaching it, right? um, but let me bring this one up because this might be good at this point. Because I feel like we could do another one of these easily, and because we've probably only tracked about half of the known story right now. um, but here's one. Is there a question you'd always hope somebody would ask you? Make this one that. Is there something maybe we didn't cover um, in this podcast, in this episode, that you wish we would have? Or more specifically, throughout your life, is there a question you wish somebody would have asked you but didn't?
Um, I don't know exactly how the question is. What I mean, maybe Jason, since you've written a book and spoken all these places and done a TEDx talk and have a podcast, is your life perfect now? Or are you constantly living on cloud nine?
And what
And
would your
I
answer?
think what?
I said, and what would your answer be?
And I think that this question is so important because as as humans, we at least in my experience, we love looking at other people and say, oh, they have it made. Oh, if only I was that. Oh, but I'll never be that because I didn't have the opportunities. It's so easy to think that the grass is always greener, to think other people are living blissful, easy lives, and I'll say it's immensely rewarding to have done everything I've done, and I love it so much, but but it has led to the challenges and opportunities I faced as I was doing that stuff, and that I overcame doing that stuff led to the new challenges and opportunities I experience now. So I would urge everyone to instead of putting people on pedestals and saying that life is perfect, say, what can I learn from this person, and also what could I teach this person. I mean, start thinking of famous people as just another person to have a conversation with, to learn from, and to teach. Like you're not less than anyone else. You're just keep creating some more conversations, less pedestals, I guess.
All right. All right. Well, I got one more picture that I want your feedback on.
Yeah, no, I think this is definitely the longest podcast.
All right. You ready? So, what do you think of when you see this picture?
Nice. I think of my San Diego life. That's in the basement of my lovely apartment building I lived in, the Barcelona, and I also think of just creativity. Chris and I were doing a photo shoot, and we were in the basement, and the walls have good texture, and the grocery cart. So we're like, what can we do with the grocery cart? And somehow we came up with this. And creativity is another huge thing to remember we have. Like we have the problems, the challenges, and they may seem insurmountable, but creativity, when creativity comes in, and when collaboration comes in, we can think of amazing solutions. For heaven's sakes, we're across the country talking on computers, like having a discussion, and people are chiming in from Facebook. The, those are all solutions to what once seemed like insurmountable problems.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that was too. That's that picture, to bring it back up again. I remember that whole shoot. We knew what our goal was. Our goal was to kind of capture you in a more natural light and everything. Not that this particular shopping cart was, but this whole shopping cart moment was so random, and it was needed to kind of lighten the mood. And I remember you just kept taking passes, kind of cruising along the back of that shopping cart that was just randomly there. But it allowed everything to kind of like loosen up and have some fun. And then I think the images that we captured that we wound up using again and again all came after this, so it's kind of just being open to what's there and using what's there and using the experience, and not having to predetermine everything and have everything so set in life.
I love that. I love what you've done with these pictures and how you've turned them into phenomenal metaphors.
These ones, they're fun. They're fun. Yeah, I look forward to the day when you and I can be in the same room again physically, and start to have some more of that. Taking advantage of what's there and making some new stuff happen. So I'm glad that you're able to do it.
I'm getting this queued up. I don't know. I probably can't. You probably can't even see it. Can you see it?
What am I looking for?
My foot.
Oh, no, I saw your leg, but
but so I'm getting this healed up, and then we'll be in the same room soon.
Absolutely.
Once this heals.
Well, speaking of being in the same room as some people that might be more local to you, do we want to discuss what you're doing tonight a little bit?
So tonight, tonight was a co-creation between a variety of people, including the pastor of the church, Chris, yourself, who made this great poster, the young people who are having me in, and I guess I'm part of it too. But anyway, the whole idea is we talk traditionally about these subjects: loneliness, being mean to ourselves, suicide prevention, and the subjects get so heavy and seem to get heavier and heavier the more we talk about them, and they're serious subjects. There's no denying that, but that doesn't mean that we can't bring a lighthearted, problem-solving perspective to them, and so I'll talk for a while, and then the young people will ask some questions, and then other people will ask questions, and I hope, as the ripple effect of all this, everyone who comes to the event is more equipped when these subjects come into their own life to when know that they're part of life, and to have some ideas of how to deal with them and go the way they want instead of down a path they don't want.
Right. And I'd say the one thing that you can see if you're looking at this right now is that youth 9 to 99 welcome. So if you're 100, I'm sorry, you're out of luck. But it means all ages. This is open to anybody in the Sioux Falls area, correct?
Yes, and anyone who wants to jump on a plane in the next 10 minutes, if you have your own plane and want to fly in.
You can take a private jet to come and see Jason speak. But this is kind of a big thing. It's been a while especially with COVID and everything, since you've had a public speaking thing in the sense it's open to the public. And so, yeah, I would say if you are interested from 6:30 to 7:30 tonight, you can come and see Jason do his thing live and on stage. And I mean, as a parent of a child, this could be a very important talk too if you bring your kids, because not only will your kids learn something, but you might learn something too about yourself, or a way to connect with your child. You know, like it's likely that you have stories too, and I think that's the one thing that's important as a parent. We get such in that mode sometimes of being the disciplinarian, and having to kind of, teach these kids lessons and whatnot. Sometimes we forget that we've been vulnerable too. We were kids too, and we've been through some hard stuff that they're likely going through as well. So might be an opportunity to let them see that human side of you as well.
Well, that's such a good point. What I love about events like this is not only me up there doing my thing. There's a wisdom in every room, and the event will bring out that wisdom in its own unique way, and I believe everyone will be the better for it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Jason, this has been an amazing time. We did take this past the hour and a half mark. I'm going to go ahead and put this next one up, and I'm going to let you take us out of here as we discuss next week.
Wait, is this just a regular interview, or are we going for the 3-hour marathon thing?
I mean, we could easily do the 3-hour marathon, or come back and do a part 2 to this. There's a lot of pictures I didn't even get to touch on, like this one, for instance. We have to come back to learn about that. I know this one's got a good story behind it. But for right now, I'll let you take us on out of here, Jason.
So I'm excited to interview my craft team next week. I was lucky enough to meet so I was attending a virtual conference on education speaking a few months ago, and suddenly the guy asking a question, and he has guitars in his background. Well, and then I just knew he was such a cool person, and turns out he's a retired assistant principal and principal with just a phenomenal perspective on education, on how educators can not only attend to all the duties and help students, but how they can take care of themselves at the same time, so they can keep strong. And I'm just so excited to interview him next week.
Awesome.
Actually, awkwardly awesome. You should know that by now.
Speaking of awkwardly awesome, I just realized something. I totally forgot to play this.
Today's guest, Jason W. Freeman.
If you're shocked with that announcement of today's guest, I'm sorry this has been so boring that you slipped through the whole thing. But
what are you talking about? That's the beginning of the show. We're just starting now.
Okay? Yeah, we can do the 3-hour thing.
Yeah. So why don't you tell me about this image? All right, brother. Well, thank you so much. This has been a fun interview. Thanks for trusting me to kind of have some fun with it and steer it and take your show away from you for a moment. In the meantime, here I'll return it back to you for future episodes. And
thanks for interviewing me. You're a great interviewer. Oh, note at the 3-hour mark, we switched and we start putting up pictures of you and you start talking about them.
that'd be a fun one.
So we'll have like a 7-hour podcast where we just talk about all the pictures we've ever taken.
Kind of reminds me of what we were doing last night. We started showing old videos that we found of the kids, and it just became like an hour and a half of throwing videos up on the TV until the kids got so bored they walk out of the room. So before that fully happens here, I'm going to wish you the best of luck tonight, and thanks again.
Thank you.